What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It is time for a review of the highly anticipated 7th studio album by Queens of the Stone Age, a rock band that have been killing it since the late 90s. It's the follow-up to 2013's fan-fucking-tastic album Like Clockwork, one of my favorite albums of the past 5 years. This new one is called Villains, and it is produced by Mark Ronson. Many of you know Ronson for hits like Uptown Funk with Bruno Mars, maybe his own solo stuff, and you're thinking, John, isn't he more of a dance producer? And the answer, to be quite simple, is yes, for the most part. He's been associated with that, but he's also known for his guitar skill and just a sense of funk to his production and his music in general. And I've appreciated his taste and talent over time, even though he's definitely had some misfires. I had some concerns after hearing the lead single, The Way You Used to Do. It was a different song for Queens of the Stone Age, and I can see why some fans had some trouble getting into it and maybe adjusting to that sound change. But the more I think about it, and the more I see that song in the context of a happier and more bright record, I understand why Queens of the Stone Age needed to tweak the formula a bit in order to just mix it up enough to keep everything flowing, to keep everything interesting. And Like Clockwork was such a dark album that saw Josh Homme, the leader of this band, just beaten down. And while I love that record to death, another album like that, who knows, it could have entirely drained him and ended the band. I don't want to think about what would happen in that case. But Josh Homme has definitely still been going through some dark times. He's had injuries, he's had setbacks, he's really had a lot of things facing him. But through all that, I feel like we've gotten his most introspective lyrical side yet. Even though there's plenty of social commentary like on Un-Reborn again, there's a lot of thinking that deals with relationships and his own personality. Take, for example, Fortress, an incredible song that has a great build and makes use of those synthesizers. So the first question that probably everybody is wondering though, Mark Ronson, how did he handle that production? Well, to be quite honest, he handled it nicely. He slid in there, but it's not so abrupt and so different outside of, I would say, the single The Way You Used to Do, that it's jarring to the listener. There's sounds here that will creep up on you, but they only add to the eeriness and aura of some of these tunes. Like, for example, one of the other songs that we got, The Evil Has Landed. That was really the second pre-release single from this thing, and people were flocking to it, loving it, and praising it much more than The Way You Used to Do. But if you think about it, there's still elements of Ronson in that. Maybe it's in the crisper and more clean feel that it has, but at the same time, it has a lot of those effects that Queens of the Stone Age are known for. It builds up, it has a hammering guitar riff that just finishes this thing out. The bass on this explodes, and that's something that you can say for this entire record, Villains. I'm loving the pumping bass work that's throttled into some of these moments that add a lot of mood and atmosphere. Take, for example, Domesticated Animals, one of the absolute best songs on here. Sure, it's a bit repetitive in terms of the lyrical content, but at the same time, I think that's done to build emphasis, and the musicality is just an ace up the sleeve. So good. Imagine Domesticated Animals as a slow trickle. You hear that guitar slowly, steadily building, growing. There's new vocal effects that work their way in as Josh Homme sings dizzy, 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 and then there's just an atmosphere that grows out of that, and I love that. Michael Schumann's doing a great job on the bass work here, and I have to give a mention to Troy, their guitarist, as well, because he's one of my favorites of this century, to be quite honest. He's been with Queens longer than anyone else other than Josh Homme, and on their least collaborative project to date, I would say, he is making himself a standout, especially whenever they're going in a little bit of a different direction in terms of the musicality. It's still guitar driven, but maybe in a little bit of a more trancey type of way. Has The Way You Used to Do grown on me at all since I did my track review of that over on Beyond ARTV? I would say slightly. I gave the song a light 3.5, and I would potentially upgrade that to a 4 if you want to put a number on it, but really, it comes with repeated listens. Not only this song, but the entire album. It's something where even the songs where you might not feel like you're drawn to them, like for example, Myself and Hideaway, that was not a highlight for me whatsoever. In fact, I found myself wanting to skip over that one. But as I gave it more of a chance, I saw its charm drums, I started to love the vocals and the lyrics on it, and that's something that I can really say for every song here. Even if I'm not 100% on board with the music outside of, I don't know, maybe Head Like a Haunted House in terms of its lyrics, I'm pretty much on board with the poetry, the stories, and the clever wordplay that Hami is using here. He's a musical genius, and I really am thoroughly impressed with what he's done on Villains. Now, I keep mentioning Josh Homme by name, and you're thinking, are you discrediting the rest of the band? By no means, because I know how Homme works in the studio, and these minds put together can quite often clash, but at the same time, they get a lot of great results too. And John Theodore is another person that really stepped up here for the drumming on this record, because he went with a different pattern and style, because he had to. If he was playing the same driving rhythms that, say, he was playing on the last record that they did, like Clockwork, then it probably wouldn't have worked out as well. And Joey Castillo did some of the tracks there, I think, and Dave Grohl, but I mean, in terms of playing those live like he's been doing out on tour, it's something where you see him maybe just slowing down his pace a bit, and I think that really every member of the band came together and put together a surprising collection of songs, because I, for one, was a little bit nervous, like I said, whenever I heard the lead single, but listening through all of these moments, from the more synth-driven, almost ballad fortress that just explodes in its last half, to Head Like a Haunted House, which is a song that's existed since 2007. It was just an instrumental, and then they put the lyrics, and now it feels like an old, almost Elvis rock and roll type song. I don't know. I'm very surprised in a very good way. The upwards inflection in my voice implies that I'm surprised, because I wasn't expecting to love Villains like I have, and just being magnetized and drawn to it. Like I mentioned, The Evil Has Landed, a bombastic 6+ minute track that rocks out but also has an interesting set of lyrics paired up with it. And Un-Reborn, again, something that talks about getting younger, all of the things that we do to manipulate the age of social media, whether it be trying to find the fountain of youth by aging backwards essentially, or the way that we present ourselves online. I think the lyrics here are quite snarky and sarcastic and come off just like Josh Homme wants them to. He's no different here. He's definitely grown up a bit because he's able to reflect, let a bit of himself out, and we see that slice of light coming through on some of these moments like Fortress that I already mentioned. Love that synth-driven direction there. And then Villains of Circumstance, another moment that goes 6+ minutes, closes out this album. It's existed since 2014 apparently. It's been tweaked some, of course, but this song is monumental because it feels like the whole album built to this. And then we get that crazy little slow break, and then it breaks down even further, and it's the perfect closing moment to Villains. I've saved one of my absolute favorites for last. It's the only song that I haven't mentioned by name up to this point, and even though this is only a 9-song album, we get plenty of content, plenty of music to listen to, 48 minutes, but it's that opening moment that's one of the absolute keys for getting into this album. Obviously, it's the opening track. They set the bar for what's to come. And how high do they set it? Well, they set it out of frame. Beat Don't Fail Me is an absolutely magical moment, and I can't help but once that little intro gets in, we get to like the 59-second, 1-minute mark, it finally has crept up on us, and then it just slams with that bass and funky guitar line that feels retro but new at the same time, and all I can do is sit there and just kind of jam out. Feet Don't Fail Me Now is a common phrase, but it's used in the chorus here in a very interesting way, and I love the musicality of this track. One of my favorites from Queens in their more upbeat moments in their discography, and it really stands out and could be a definite fan favorite, especially when performed live. I would have to say that my least favorite moment here is Head Like a Haunted House, along with Hideaway, even though that track in particular, the latter of those at least, is still an excellent tune, and I appreciate a lot of things about it. Head Like a Haunted House just feels a bit out of place. It does feel very rock and rollish and vintage of like the 60s, but that kind of cheese that came with some of that music flares up here. And in a very serious and topical record, it just kind of sticks out a bit. And I know that some people will absolutely love this one just because of the style, and for Josh Homme and the Queens taking on something new. I just feel like this one is a bit misplaced and misguided here. But let me know what you guys think. This is all just my opinion. Me personally, I think Villains is going to have a very high replay factor. Queens of the Stone Age surprised me yet again, striking hard, one of my absolute favorite bands, and I'm happy to give this record a strong 4.5 out of 5. One of my definite favorite albums of the year so far. Let me know your thoughts on Villains in the comment section down below, and don't forget to smash the like button while you're here, and if you're able to, support me on either Patreon or TAD. It's those top two links down below, and if you missed the announcement video, TAD, that second link down there, is a free app you can download. You don't have to spend any of your own money. All you do is watch ads, transfer them over to me, ARTV, and every 500 TADs that you earn, you can earn up to 500 a day. Every 500 is 50 cents donated, and it pays out weekly to me, and our goal this month is to get to $500. Now, just off of my Twitter announcement alone, we earned $50 first week, so that leaves $450 to gather throughout the rest of August, and the reward for that is going to be a Muse album ranked. If you're interested in helping support ARTV and you would like to see videos like that, we're going to have a monthly goal, and you can grab that app at the second link in the description down below. Sorry if it feels like I'm spamming this or my Patreon. It's just that in these hard times, YouTube definitely doesn't like to put ads on my videos for some reason, and even when they do, they're usually days late and pay a lot less than they used to. So thank you to everybody who grabs those apps. Those screenshots that you saw up on screen there were some of the people who have already supported me by transferring over 500 TADs over on the TAD app. You can earn those daily, and if you screenshot that, tweet it to me at ARTV Reviews, then you have a chance to get a shout out in the next video. Thanks for watching. You can see a couple of recent videos here, including my top 10 queens. Socials in the description, and I'll see you very soon.